On the inside of the track, he's getting challenged, but he will hold on.
Of white athletes to break the 10-second barrier in the 100.
A Division III college athlete just ran 9.89 seconds in the 100 meters. No scholarship, no D1 program, no elite facility, no Nike contract. Just a kid from Wisconsin who every big school in America looked at, scrolled past, and decided wasn't worth a phone call. And he just became one of the 2 fastest men on the planet in 2026. If you don't follow track, let me explain why that number should stop you cold. 9.89 seconds is the exact time Noah Lyles ran for the bronze medal at the 2025 World Athletics Championships in Tokyo. Same time, same hundredths. The 8-time world champion, the Olympic gold medalist, the most famous sprinter of his generation, ran 9.89 against the best men on earth and walked away with a podium finish. And a D3 kid from a town nobody outside Wisconsin can pronounce just ran the same number in a meet most of the country has never heard of. The math is supposed to be impossible. The math is not impossible anymore. And the story of how he got there is somehow stranger than the time itself, because the part nobody talks about isn't the race. It's the airport job he worked to afford the bus ticket. Stay with me.
At Hayward last year ran 10:33 and come out of this going 10:17. Just regular outdoor races. Okay. So come out here and run 10:17. Great improvement for only like my second big.
Oshkosh, Wisconsin. That's the starting point of this whole thing, and it's worth sitting with for a second because Oshkosh is not a place that produces world-class sprinters. It's a small city on the western shore of Lake Winnebago, known for an airshow, a clothing brand, and not much else in the wider American sports conversation. Kids in Oshkosh grow up playing hockey on frozen ponds, throwing footballs in the snow, swinging baseball bats in spring leagues run by dads who coach for free. Nobody in that town wakes up thinking they're going to be the fastest man in the world. Nobody has a reason to. Sam Blaskowski grew up there doing everything except sprinting. He swam competitively as a kid. He played flag football, basketball, indoor soccer, baseball in the fall, anything with a ball or a pool or a court. He was the kind of athlete who tried every sport not because he was chasing greatness but because that's just what kids in Wisconsin do in the winter when it's 20 below and you need somewhere to put your energy. Sprinting wasn't on the radar. Track wasn't even a thought. And the only reason it ever became one is because of a moment most parents would file under a small disappointment and forget about by spring. He got cut from the high school basketball team. That was the trigger. A kid who wasn't even good enough to make a Wisconsin high school basketball roster needed something to do, so he wandered over to the track and started running in a straight line. That was the entire origin story. No talent scout. No childhood dream. Just a teenager filling a hole in his schedule. But what happened on that track was something nobody, including him, was expecting.
I'm Blaskowski and I recently graduated from Oshkosh West High School. I've been coming to the YMCA since I was a little baby, from swimming, playing basketball, flag football, being on the swim team, Oshie, since I was little, and then as I got older and became more into that middle school, high school.
He was fast. Not high school fast. Not regional fast. The kind of fast where coaches start checking the stopwatch twice because they assume it's broken. By his senior year at Oshkosh West, Sam was running 10.83 in the 100 meters and 21.99 in the 200, and on top of that he was jumping far enough to win the long jump too. 3 Wisconsin state titles in one senior season, the 100, the 200, and the long jump. Triple crown. The kind of resume that makes recruiting coordinators across the country slide into the inbox with offers. Except the inbox stayed empty. 3 state titles, and the phone basically didn't ring. Not from the SEC. Not from the Big Ten, which has programs in his own home state. Not from the Pac-12, the ACC, or any mid-major hungry for a sprinter who could score points at conference. Every Division I program in America saw the times, saw the triple event versatility, and kept scrolling. One coach reached out. One. His name was Nicholas Gordon, and here's the kicker: Gordon wasn't even a sprint coach. He coached the long jump. At a Division III school. The University of Wisconsin, La Crosse. The same school where both of Sam's parents had been students. The same school sitting 1 mile from where his grandparents lived. A school that, by NCAA rules, is not even allowed to offer athletic scholarships. Read that one more time, because this is the moment the entire story hinges on. A three-time state champion with sub-22 speed in the 200, jumping far enough to medal at state, and the only college in America that wanted him was offering zero scholarship money to come run for a long jump coach he'd never met. Not a partial offer. Not a reduced ride. $0. The American athletic system looked at Sam Blaskowski and said, "You can come run for us, but you'll have to pay for the privilege yourself." That kind of rejection breaks most teenagers. The ones it doesn't break tend to do something interesting with what comes next.
Fresh off of a big 100-meter performance this weekend. I mean, you've had what is it, like 24, 48 hours now to process things, Sam? Like, what's it been like, I guess, kind of going viral, and then
just kind of like I just had my hands on my head, just like I don't know how I just skipped 9.9s and went to 9.8, because like to me that's like 9.8 is like legit.
So picture the move. 18-year-old kid, 3 state titles in his back pocket, packs up his life and drives 1 mile from his grandparents' house to enroll at a Division III school where nobody is watching, nobody is filming, and the times he runs will not register on any meaningful national list. Lacrosse is one of the strongest D3 track programs in the country, but D3 itself is a different universe from the one Olympic dreams live in. There are no scouts in the stands. There are no shoe reps slipping business cards under hotel doors. There's no Diamond League interest. Winning a D3 national title means you ran somewhere around 10.2, maybe 10.4 on a good day with a good wind. That's a genuinely fast time. It's not even close to the times that win at World Championship finals, where the air is full of men running 9.7s and 9.8s. The gap between D3 nationals and the Olympic 100-meter final is not measured in hundredths of a second. It's measured in continents. And Sam, to put it bluntly, lapped the field. As a freshman he won the D3 national title in the 100 meters. Then he won it again. And again. By the time he walked off campus with his degree, he had 11 individual NCAA Division III national titles. 4 straight in the 100. 3 in the 60. 3 in the 200. One of the greatest sprint careers Division III has ever seen. And outside of a few hundred fans in Wisconsin and the small world of NCAA D3 track diehards, almost nobody noticed.
In the world of sprinting, there have only ever been a handful of white athletes to break the 10-second barrier in the 100.
Because here's the brutal honesty nobody in the D3 world wants to say out loud. Winning 11 national titles at that level proves you're the best of one tier. It does not prove you're elite. The men running for spots in World Championship finals are running 9.8s for breakfast. A 10.2 wins you a D3 title and gets you respect within your division. It gets you almost nothing in the room where Olympic medals are decided. So the question that hung over Sam's entire college career was the question nobody could answer. Was he a true world-class talent that the recruiting system had failed to identify? Or was he just the king of a smaller hill, a guy who would slam into a ceiling the moment he stepped onto a real start line against real competition? For 4 years, there was no way to know. And then in 2024, he got a chance to find out.
Blaskowski got in lane 4, just limbs. On the track, he's getting challenged, but he will hold off all challengers.
The 2024 U.S. Olympic Trials. Hayward Field in Eugene, Oregon. The deepest sprint country on the planet. The men in that field had Olympic medals, NCAA championships from blue blood programs, professional sponsors, world ranking points. And lined up among them was a D3 kid from Wisconsin who had never raced anyone of that caliber in his life. He ran 10.23 in his prelim, made the semifinal, finished 6th in his heat, and did not make the team. On paper, you could write that off as a polite participation moment. But anyone who actually watched the race saw something different. He didn't look out of place. He didn't tighten up against the names. He didn't run scared. He ran. And he held his own in a field that, on paper, had no business letting him into the same conversation. That was the moment the athletics world outside Wisconsin started raising an eyebrow. Maybe the D3 thing was a fluke of recruiting. Maybe this kid was actually something. Maybe the system had genuinely missed. But the part of the story that explains everything about who he actually is happened next, and almost nobody talks about it.
Running a 9.94, we also saw Cole Beck running a 9.97, we saw Lachlan Kennedy running a 9.96, we saw Matthew Bowling drop a 9.98, and we also saw Filippo Tortu from Italy running a 9.99. And then,
college career over. 11 national titles in the trophy case. 1 Olympic trials appearance under his belt. And here's the cold reality Sam was staring down: no contract. No sponsor. No shoe deal waiting at the door. The same recruiting machine that ignored him in high school had not magically discovered him in college. The pro sprint world is a brutal closed shop, and breaking in requires either a major Nike-backed pipeline or a connection you have to build with your own hands. Sam had neither. What he had was a goal. He wanted to train with Dennis Mitchell down at Star Athletics in Montverde, Florida. Mitchell is one of the most respected sprint coaches in America. He's the man who guided Sha'Carri Richardson to her world title, the coach who works with Kenny Bednarik, a guy who builds professional sprinters out of raw athletic clay. If anyone could answer the question of whether Sam was actually world-class, it was Mitchell. But Mitchell's group was in Florida. Sam was in Wisconsin. And nobody was paying his way down. So he got a job at a small regional airport. Worked the off-season, saving every dollar, the kind of grind that doesn't fit on a Wikipedia page or a highlight reel. Picture it for a second. The kid with 11 national titles, the kid who just held his own at the Olympic trials, clocking into shifts at a regional Wisconsin airport so he could afford to chase a dream that everyone, including most professional coaches, would have told him was a long shot. He picked up a nil deal with Quick Trip, a Midwestern gas station chain, the most Wisconsin sponsorship arrangement in the history of American track and field, and he wore that logo with the kind of pride that tells you exactly how the corporate sprint world had treated him to that point. He took whatever money he could get. Then he packed up his car, left his grandparents and his parents and the campus 1 mile down the road, and drove south. That detail right there is the whole story. Not the. Florida didn't roll out a red carpet. The early returns were not encouraging. His personal best heading into the 2026 season was 10.05, and that's a respectable number. It's fast enough to walk into most national finals in the world. But it's not world-class. World-class lives in the 9.8s, and Sam had never been close. He raced 5 times early in the 2026 season, 3 of those at altitude where the thinner air is supposed to help sprinters run faster. He didn't crack 10 in any of them. He didn't finish higher than 3rd in any of them. To the outside world, it was starting to look like the bet hadn't paid off. The doubters circled in real time. Maybe the D3 thing really had been the ceiling. Maybe the Olympic trials cameo had been a one-time spike. Maybe the airport job and the move to Florida had been the bravest, dumbest gamble any American sprinter had made in a decade. Dennis Mitchell saw something different in training. Coaches always say that, of course, but Mitchell was telling people privately that the workouts were lying about who Sam was. The race times weren't matching what the stopwatch said behind closed doors. He told his guys it was only a matter of time. The world was looking at the wrong numbers. The world found out which numbers mattered on May 30th, 2026. Cleveland, Tennessee. Music City Track Carnival. Not exactly a glamour stop on the global sprint calendar. The kind of meet where pros go to tune up, where college kids go to chase qualifiers, where the crowd is more devoted than huge. Sam Blaskowski lined up in the 100 meters. The starter's pistol cracked. Roughly 10 seconds later, he was the fastest man in America. 9.89 seconds. Wind a perfectly legal plus 1.5 meters per second. His first ever sub-10 in a legal race. And he didn't ease into it. He didn't run 9.95 or 9.92 the way most sprinters do when they cross that barrier for the first time. He went from 10.05 to 9.89 in a single race. He skipped the entire 9.9 decade. Sprinters spend years inching down through hundredths of a second. He erased 16 hundredths in one afternoon. Now let the number settle in. 9.89 makes Sam the fastest American sprinter of 2026. It ties him for the second fastest 100-meter time in the world this season. It puts him at the 54th fastest 100-meter performance in human history. And the comparison that should make your jaw move: at the 2025 World Championships in Tokyo, the deepest 100-meter final in years, Oblique Seville took gold in 9.77, Kishane Thompson silver in 9.82, and Noah Lyles bronze in 9.89. That's the same 9.89 Sam just ran in Tennessee. Drop him into that Tokyo final and he doesn't watch from the stands. He walks away with a bronze medal. A D3 kid with $0 scholarship dollars, an airport paycheck, and a gas station nil patch on his sleeve walks away from the World Championships with a medal around his neck. Hypothetically. But not by much, because the time is real. The time happened. Dennis Mitchell, asked afterward what he thought, basically shrugged. The training had been showing it. The race had just caught up to the work. And there's a piece of this run that the broader athletics world has been quietly tiptoeing around, and it deserves to be said directly because it's a historical fact. 9.89 makes Sam Blaskowski the fastest white sprinter in the recorded history of the event. Ever. In more than 60 years of professional 100-meter racing, nobody who looks like him has run that fast. He broke the previous mark by 0.03 of a second, which in sprint terms is not a sliver, it's a clear, decisive gap. That's not a footnote. That's a line in the record books of a sport where the demographic patterns at the top have been remarkably consistent for decades. And it adds a second historical layer to what he did on that Saturday afternoon in Tennessee, because he didn't just become the fastest American of 2026. He rewrote a line of the sport's history that most people assumed was settled. This is also exactly the kind of moment Noah Lyles has been preaching about for years. Lyles has made it his unofficial second job to drag American track back into the cultural conversation, telling anyone with a microphone that the sport needs new faces, new pipelines, new stories, new fans. He said again and again that the institutional pipelines, the elite high school camps, the SEC scholarship machines, the Nike-funded clubs don't have a monopoly on talent. He said the next great sprinter could come from anywhere. And then a kid working a Wisconsin airport job, training on his own dime after years in a division most fans don't watch, ran the exact time Lyles himself ran for a world championship medal. Sam Blaskowski didn't just become a sprinter. He became the living, breathing argument for everything Lyles has been saying. Speed didn't care where he went to school. Speed didn't check his scholarship offer sheet. Speed didn't ask which conference logo was on his uniform. The clock just told the truth. After he crossed the line, Sam didn't give a speech. He didn't roast the D1 programs that ignored him. He didn't post a list of the recruiters who scrolled past his name. He posted one sentence on Instagram, and it was simple enough to miss if you weren't paying attention. Breaking 10 wasn't just a goal. It became an obsession. Years of sacrifice, hard work, discipline, and belief all came together on the track. That was it. No mic drop. No score settling. Just a man who knew exactly what it had cost him to get to that line and wanted everyone else to feel the weight of it. Years of sacrifice. Translate that into what you've already read. 4 years of national titles nobody watched. A regional airport shift schedule. 2 parents and a set of grandparents he left behind in Wisconsin to chase something most of the sport had quietly written off. A gas station nil deal because the big shoe brands didn't pick up the phone. All of it. Compressed into one number flashing on a small meat scoreboard in Tennessee. And every D1 program that didn't make the call when he was a high school senior is watching that number right now. Every recruiter who sought his triple state title season and decided he wasn't worth the conversation is watching. Every athletic director, every scout, every coach who built a roster out of the kids they ranked higher than him is watching. And the worst part for them is that the math is now public. He didn't just become good. He became one of 2 fastest men on earth in this calendar year. The recruiting whiff is no longer hypothetical. It's the most expensive recruiting mistake in modern American sprinting, and it's etched on a stopwatch. Now look forward. Los Angeles 2028 is 2 years away. Sam will be 25 years old at the starting line of the Olympic 100-meter final, deep in the prime years of a sprinter's career. The Games are on American soil for the first time since 1996. The stadium will hold around 80,000 people. The American crowd loves an underdog story more than any other crowd on earth, and they will know his story by the time he steps in the blocks, because the next 2 years of build-up are going to put it in front of every television, every podcast, every front page that touches Olympic track. A kid from Oshkosh who got cut from his high school basketball team. A kid who paid his own way through D3 because nobody else would. A kid who clocked airport shifts to fund his shot at the pro world. A kid who jumped from 10.05 to 9.89 in a single race. By the time he toes the line in Los Angeles, that story will not be a secret anymore. And the obvious question is whether he turns the story into a medal. He's already shown he can run with the men who win medals. He's already run the time that lands on a world's podium. The question is whether he can do it under Olympic pressure, against a Jamaican wave that's deeper than it's been in years, against a Noah Lyles who will be defending his territory hard, on the biggest stage the sport offers. Nobody knows the answer. But 2 years ago nobody knew his name. 1 year ago nobody knew his story. 6 months ago the doubters were lining up. The size of the unknown has been shrinking every single time he's been written off. So here's the bigger thought to leave with, because Sam Blaskowski is not a one-off. He's a question. How many kids exactly like him are running right now in divisions nobody's watching, in towns nobody scouts, working night shifts at small airports and small grocery stores and small warehouses, betting on themselves with no system in their corner? American track has a recruiting machine that's supposed to find the fastest people in the country and put them on the path that leads to medals. The machine looked at Sam in high school and said no thanks. The machine was wrong. And if the machine was that wrong about one of the fastest men in the world, what else is it missing right now? How many 9.8 seconds are walking around in small towns with no scholarship, no spotlight, and no idea they're allowed to belong on a world championship podium? That's not a comfortable question for the sport. But it's the question Sam Blaskowski just forced into the conversation, whether the conversation wants it or not. Drop it in the comments. Los Angeles 2028, Sam Blaskowski steps onto the line on home soil in front of 80,000 people who know exactly who he is. Does he medal? Does he beat the names that were supposed to be ahead of him forever? Does he turn the worst recruiting decision in modern American track into a gold medal photograph? Tell me where you stand. Every comment gets read.